Okay. So I'm going to make sure that, I mean, most people are already muted, but if you have a question, wave at us, or you can use the electronic hand and actually I'd prefer that we can take people in order. It makes it a little easier. If you'd like to speak or ask a question, if you don't see where that is on your menu at the bottom, it's probably under reactions. You hit reaction and there's a raise hand thing, and that will keep track of the order that people want to speak. So I'm Dick Rubenstein. Welcome. This is our second recent forum. And I imagine that people have a lot of things that they want to talk about, not the least of which is the memo that just came out yesterday. So do we have, who has a question? Anybody would like to ask a question? We don't have a start. Okay, Eileen, you should unmute yourself.
Thank you.
Okay.
So my question isn't, thank you for sending out the information that we received yesterday. I thought it was great to get it. And we all understand what the implications are. But my question is more longer term. So I realize that the project needs to be rebid, or that was the decision to make. But I'm wondering what we're doing in the interim to try to move forward on financing, or at least identify some financial partners who might be interested in supporting the project and helping the people who may not necessarily be able to afford the amount of money that is going to be assessed.
Okay, Paul or Louise, would you like to address that? You have to unmute yourself.
Right. So, as you know, we had a Vita Bank was our bank, and we tried to get them to do the 20-year kind of like a mortgage kind of loan kind of agreement, and they didn't want to do it. So what we've got to do now, we've identified 4 other banks, and we're now going to try to set the meetings up. So what we have to do as a board, and from the financial standpoint, is that we've got to be able to put a package together about what we want, what the numbers are going to look like from an analytical standpoint. And then we've got to make meetings with these banks and try to go and access that 20 to 25-year mortgage component of the loan. It's going to be difficult because of the climate that we're in right now. And the lending is, the whole lending climate is not particularly great, but condos, a good solid condo association like we have, has some financial credibility. So, but that's where we're working on right now. And we're going to set those meetings up and move forward in trying to access that kind of loan for the residents.
That's great. Can you just tell me? I'm sorry.
Well, let Louise.
Eileen, I just wanted to add to this, Eileen, and I see Dan back there too. The other thing that we will need as a part of this, and we know this already based on our own experience and certainly our experience with the Video Bank, we will need to survey the ownership in the condominium and find out specifically how many people will want to participate in the loan, how many people will pay their assessment share up front or over 2 payments, and or through other mechanisms, their own financing. We need to know what the need is and how many people will be paying in a relatively short period of time, that is over 2 years. Those are things that are essential for us to know. But Paul and I both have experience with financial institutions, and we will be working on that over the next 2 months and hope to come up with a more specific set of parameters and a bank who will commit to working with us. Clearly, this is a beautiful building in a great place with a great future, and people understand buildings get old and they need major repairs, and those are the things that we want to address. So thank you.
Okay, so just to clarify, in terms of the timeline for that, So you think within the next 2 months, we'll be able to generate enough information from the residents? Because the
Well,
last,
yeah.
time we didn't get a complete,
Right. Well, one of the things that, well, not to interrupt you, one of the things that we have to do is we have to understand the rebid.
mhm,
Because obviously the aggregate number of what it's going to cost us to do it, do the project in general, is going to be a significant part of the
Have a good
presentation.
one.
What's that?
I didn't say.
Oh, okay.
It's
So,
somebody else.
so what we've got to do now is we've got to figure out, the bank is going to want to know what is the actual cost, what is the bid that, you know, once we send it out to the different contractors to be able to do it. And once we get that number solid, then we can put the rest of the presentation together and we can go start to do that. So the timing is a little tricky because, you know, we've got to get that piece done on the rebid, and we haven't done that yet. Because we're still worrying about, not worrying, but we're still trying to make sure that the community is behind this to a degree, you know, to the kind of degree that we need to show the bank that we have the association support. So that's a big piece of it. And so right now, obviously, that we've, you know, there's a lot of anxiety about this because the number is so big. And but the banking institutions are going to want to know that we've got a good environment to be able to fulfill the loan agreement that we would put together.
Just
Thank-
one more thing, I wanted to add, Eileen and Paul, is that even before we have that firm number, we need to get some feedback from owners about whether or not and how they're going to pay the special assessment in the range of what it is we have proposed, and that is essential. But the other part of it is that Paul and I will vet these banks in terms of really them understanding our situation and make sure that we have somebody who is willing to make the commitment that we will need in order to make the commitment on financing the project. So there is a little bit of work we can do ahead of getting the final bid numbers.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to, is if we can get everybody, I mean, we have some range of what it's gonna be, at least, and I think most people will know if they're gonna be able to do X, Y, or Z. So if we can get
Right.
people to commit to that early on, so we know within, you know, whatever the timeline you guys decide is important, at least we know what that is. And that's all I was trying to get to.
Right.
Well, thank you. Beth, you have your hand up. Yeah, there you go.
Yes, hi. So to follow along with that question, one thought is that has there been any thought given to separating out the cost of the window component, we'll call window sliding glass doors component, and the labor costs associated with that, and separate that so that we require the owners to finance that component on their own, and look at the building costs separately, and looking at the loan, let's say the 20-year loan, only for that financial component. And that might reduce the numbers so that I don't know if that affects how we could go about getting a bank loan. That's one question.
Mhm.
Two, I have a question on, I know, as you know, the communication about the sliding glass doors has gone out. And I just need some edification about the sliding glass doors. If they get replaced, can they be handled? Does the replacement get handled from the inside of the unit? Or does that require scaffolding for the outside for those units that have balconies and sliding glass windows? That's two. And three, I was reading, just out of curiosity, the Harbor Towers story. And that after, as many of you know, there was a lot of controversy about their renovation. And originally they discussed it with George Maycomber, who, as you know, runs Maycomber Construction. And I was just, who was able to reduce the cost quite a bit. So I'm just curious, was anybody in touch with him or his construction company about their process and what they found out and how they were able to reduce their costs?
That's a lot of questions. Let's see if we can answer some of them. The situation with replacing the windows, for example, the sliding doors, depending on the situation, some of those windows will have to come from the outside and some will have to come from the inside. The larger windows may have to come up on the scaffolding. So that's done on case by case basis. Does that speak to your question?
Yeah, I was curious whether all the sliding glass, I understand the Juliet windows will have to be handled from the outside, but I was curious to know about those that are on balconies. Whether
Yeah,
those would be handled.
it's a question of, I mean, the complicated logistics for this. When things can come up through an elevator, that's generally going to be more efficient than having to bring them up through the scaffolding. So they're going to do this in the most efficient way for each situation. We'll try to reduce the amount of inconvenience inside. But for example, in the north and south towers, when they're carrying windows up, there may be an elevator that's committed to that to bring windows up. But it depends on the particular unit and the access to the unit. The very large windows up at the top of the building are going to have to be brought from the outside. They can't go in an elevator or get through a door. So that's a case by case thing. You ask about the financing. The windows part of the cost has always been separate from the common cost. Okay, so when you get a bill for the whole project sometime next year, and in fact we'll get you the information well in advance of that. It'll be broken out. There'll be two parts. There's a part that's all the common expense, such as all the common doors and windows, the external stuff for the masonry, the roof work. That's all part of the common expense, and your portion of that will depend on your beneficial interest. Okay, and then the other part is your particular windows, and the windows are priced by the size of the opening, and so you'll get a statement that shows exactly which windows you have and what the cost is. The labor and materials are not broken out because that's bid by a contractor who does the installation. So it's all of the piece. The materials part is 20 or 25%. It's actually mostly labor to do the windows.
Right, but I think my question was, let's say based off of your initial estimate, the cost for windows and labor for our unit would be about I think 100,000. And the 3/4 is then for the rest of the building. So can we make it that portion that is direct cost to us for the windows, that the unit owners don't partake in this 20-year, that amount the unit owners have to finance on their own one way or another?
You can do it either way. It's an individual choice. You don't have to use the longer term financing, or you can make a prepayment, an early payment for whatever part you want and finance the rest. This is the kind of thing we have to work out in the details with the bank. But we want to give everybody as much flexibility as we can.
Can I just jump in? It's Sally.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just wanted to jump in that the loan is not for the project. It's to assist the people who don't have the resources to pay the special assessment. So, it will be a loan that's a pass-through to individuals. It won't be the larger group won't pay the loan. It will be
Another way of saying it, if I may, Sally, it's not a loan. It's not an agreement between the bank and an individual owner.
No,
it's a way that it's a loan to the condo association, but we don't expect everybody to take a long term. That depends on
I guess my question is there any benefit to going to these banks and asking for 10 million versus 20 million?
Well, it depends on what we need. We have to figure out what we need.
I'm not sure that there's an advantage to do it that way. The bank is going to want to know all of the financing under one window if they can. This is going to be a big loan either way, whether if it was separated or not. And the bank is going to feel, my feeling is the bank will feel more secure if we have the package together. There are three components to the loan that we need. The one is just going to be cash flow to get us over funding issues to get the project started before funds come in from residents or owners that are going to pay in a quicker fashion. So number one, we need cash flow to get the project so we can pay the different consultants, construction people, materials, all of those things. And then the second piece is going to be the money coming in from owners that are going to be able to pay over, say, 2 years, for an example. And so that's going to be a substantial amount of cash coming in under that scenario, given some of the correspondence we had over the last year from other residents that plan to do it that way. And then the third component is the 20-year option that we're trying to do for the very purpose of trying to help people that the financial burden is going to be so difficult for. And so, we've gone out to try to even get longer than that, but the bank didn't want at least Avita didn't want anything to do with more than 20 years. So those are the three components that we've got to deal with in the banking relationship.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Mark
Yeah.
Siegel had put a chat to me, and yes, I'm looking to see about whether lowering the cost of the loan has any effect on any banks and their willingness to provide us with a loan, knowing that we were turned down initially.
I think the other uncertainty of that would be is that, you know, if the individual owners are responsible for getting their own financing for, say, the windows, does that affect that they're now taking on more debt in another institution rather than having under one bank, which the bank would feel more secure about? So those are, and I'm not saying it can't be done what you're saying. I'm just trying to say that's our thinking around it right now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on. We have some other questions. Nicole, you want to unmute?
Yeah. Hi, let me ask first question. Are we still talking about $66 million project, or I thought it was stopped? Then we got a new email this morning. It's going to be reduced to $4 million project. Which one are we talking about?
Let me explain.
Yeah.
The total project, as we expect it to be, is still about $45 million. Now, pieces of that have to be rebid, so it's probably going to vary some. We don't know whether, for example, the Masons will charge a little more, or charge a little. It's still a $45 million project.
Yeah,
However,
but what about this morning's email with the
yes,
4 million?
I'm getting there, Nicole.
Yeah, sure.
So these expenses that are covered in the 4 million are mostly non-recurring things. They will subtract from the cost of the overall project. So we have the engineering work, the evaluation of the building, the construction by the architectural engineers of the specifications for the scope of the project. All of that stuff we've already paid for, and that's what this assessment is about. Now, there's
So
another
we do have a specific numbers because we've already paid for their assessment.
right. So to the extent that, so we can expect that instead of 45 million, it's going to be less than that, 41 million or something, but we don't know the exact amount because we don't know how the rebidding is going to go. But
I'm sorry, I'm not Dick, I'm not talking about that 40 something million or 60 something million. That's out of my range anyway. I'm just talking about today's email about 4 million.
Yeah,
and I don't know what is going on and what got reduced to 4 million, what is included. And are you guys expecting all of the owners say yes from, hey, you know, surprise with the 66 million, now is 4 million with some other project. So I'm not sure which one is like what we are talking about and what we are going for.
The 4 million is part of the overall project. It's money that we've laid out to this point, and we need to recoup that because the money was spent mostly against a credit line. So we need to pay for that, given that the project has been delayed. If the project had not been delayed, then we wouldn't have had this special assessment. We would have had an assessment for the whole.
Wait. Yeah.
Can I say something?
Well, don't have your hand up.
I'm handing up.
Well, just wait a second. Are you done, Nicole? Should we go on to
yeah.
person? Okay,
Please.
Thank you. So go ahead.
Okay, so I would like wants to know first. Okay, this $4 million, is that the special assessment for what we already spent it? Or it's going to be spent newly?
Okay, there are two parts. One part, which is about 54% of the 4 million or so, is money we've already spent. There's another chunk, which is a piece of the big project that we are going to do before the warm weather ends, because it's basically emergency work. We have water infiltration that is getting into units in the South Tower. This was part of the larger project, but because it doesn't involve the windows, it's possible for us to do it now and limit the damage that's being done to the building and to units. So there's some of each, but the majority of it is money we've already spent. We just wanted to make sure that we didn't allow the infiltration of water in the South Tower to go on for another year when we could do something about it now.
So are you sure that if we spent 37% of the 45 million, 4 million, which is about 1.5 million,
Yeah.
is that guarantee that there will be no water leak problem that we will have throughout the building?
No, what it solves is the problem on the roof area, the turret where the air conditioning equipment is, and flashing and so on in that area of the South Tower, which has been leaking. We have to do the whole project to assure that there's no further infiltration of water
And I know,
elsewhere.
and we all know that even if we do the whole project, there will be no guarantee that there will be no water leak problem. So I don't know what you are talking about.
Well, of course, that's true, but the reason we're doing the project is we want to do the best job we possibly can to put the building back into as close to its original condition in terms of the external shell of the building. If we don't do that, we're going to continue to have these emergency repairs and problems with damages to units. The building, Jason will tell you, things are going wrong with the building. It's 33 years old, and we have problems beyond the facade. But the facade is one of the major issues because it's causing damage not only to the brickwork, the masonry on the external part of the building, but it's causing further damage to individual units, and well, it's only going to get worse. So the reason we've had this thorough evaluation, we've taken off parts of the building to look at what's underneath. We've done water infiltration studies, and had our engineers develop a scope for the project. The goal of the project is to put the building back into a good condition so that there aren't any leaks. But as you say, you can always have additional problems. That's always been true.
But that's the fundamental difference of how we approach this big project. You are saying we need to rebuild kind of with the old wall, old facade to the new one so that we can get the new facade of the building that works like original. But I think that's not what we should aim for, especially this size of a big project, because you guys are talking about the financial loan or all those things so that it reduces the financial situation of the other owners. But we are talking about actual eviction of some owner. We are kicking out some people from our community. And you cannot just say that there will be some of them will happen. Are you guys thinking like if they cannot afford this kind of project, they shouldn't be in our project, our community? I don't think you guys think that way. So what I'm trying to say is the project aim, the direction of the project is patching the leaking point, not the rebuilding. We are living in the Boston area. We have seen the 100-year-old buildings. People are still living happily, and they are creating happy community inside of it. Why can't we do that? Why
Well,
we are risking people kicking out some people out
And
of our building?
I'd like to answer the question if I'm allowed to, or give a partial answer.
And may I, before you,
No,
may
I would like,
what
I would
happened
like
to
to
the,
answer.
one at a
I would-
time, please.
I would
yeah,
like
yeah,
to answer.
may I,
No,
what
I'd like
happened
to
to the last
respond,
time
please. I'd like
that
to
we paid,
respond.
I paid like 20,
I'm sorry, we need to have one person at a
Yeah.
time. I'm sorry, Nicole. Let's let
I-
Sal answer and then you can
I
speak.
guess that it is true that we live in a area where there are buildings that are 100 years old. But it is also true that all of those buildings require a great deal of capital investment. Things fail, and they all require new roofs, and they all require repointing. This is true throughout the Boston area. We are actually not that unusual. What is unusual about our situation is that the original windows that were installed were meant to be in single family or two family houses. They were never meant to be in a high-rise building. And the flashing, which is part of the window structure, flashing isn't separate from the window. It's one whole unit. It's the flashing that has failed. And we can't make this building weather tight without replacing these windows. And our situation is unique in the sense that the original developer, he hired an installer who bought Pella windows on the cheap and put the wrong ones in the building. And that's what all the engineers' reports say. They say that the windows that are in this building were never appropriate for the building. And that's why we're having all the leakage.
Okay, Nicole, you wanted to get something in. Go ahead now. You can unmute.
am I on mute now?
Yeah, you're fine.
Thank you. So what happened to the last time that our huge assessment, and I think it was a year 20 something, about like 5 years ago, I can't remember. It was about this amount that I own like only one bedroom unit, but I paid about $24,000. And that was a leakage problem. And I thought we all fixed it at that time. So which means every 10 years or so, and we're going to have like $4 or $5 million of special assessment will come up. And then beside of this 60 something million dollars. And then I just came back from my father-in-law's funeral, so I didn't get to have like all these details. But if we went through all these reports and somebody found out and which pipe was wrong and what kind of thing went wrong, and can you share that report with us? All of it.
Yeah,
I'm
well, we have
pretty
a lot of
sure
information on
everybody
it.
in
Yeah.
this community can take a look at it, because
Yeah,
they'll
well,
be able
that's
to.
very much, Nicole, that's very much our intent. We have put a great deal of this documentation on the Restore 10 Rogers website. We encourage you to take a look at that. And if you have questions, you should
Yeah,
ask
but
us.
it was not the which pipe, and we fixed it in a certain point. It's just
Well,
so vague.
Maybe,
And why
maybe
do
Jason can,
we,
well, you asked about the previous assessment, and I think
or
Jason, you
previous
could tell us what that
assessment
is.
and our assessment that we paid? Because we're not gonna pay like millions of dollars for a vague reassessment, like assessment that somebody just write down the arbitrarily, they just put the reports
I
on.
promise you, Nicole,
So
this is not arbitrary. We will provide a great deal of detail with with this assessment. The purpose of this memo that you got was a heads up so that people would know that it's coming pretty accurately what the amount is. People have complained correctly before that we've sprung things on them. Our intent here is to get
yeah,
as far ahead of that as we can.
all I'm saying is this email was very, very confusing. I thought the big project was stopped or on hold. for a while, and we're moving into another direction. And this one was like newly assessed fee. And it looks like it, but now you're not saying that we're talking about this one was like must because we spent it already. Is that what you mean? We spent
we
it
have-
already, 4 million, right?
$4 million is part of the work that was to be the $45 million project. So it reduces
So it's
that
to be
45
or
million.
is already spent?
We haven't spent 45 million. We've spent
No, this $4 million email.
most of it has been spent. Some of it, if you look at the memo, you see there's some of it that's work that we've contracted for that is going to repair some immediate problems in the South Tower. But we will provide as much detail as you'd like. If there's something you don't understand, you want some information, then you should just send it.
No, all I'm saying is, I would just want to know that we've already spent $4 million already, or is that to be? You said it's gonna be part of 40-something million dollars. That's to be. The work
That's
to
right.
be.
What we have spent is, is a majority of the 4 million. And there's some that we're going to be spending this fall. Which was originally part of the whole project, but is work that we can do now and need to do because we need to prevent further damage.
I just want to be clear for my own understanding. I don't know about anybody else, but I just want to know $4 million were spent since when? Like
Please.
this year already?
Well, we'll
So-
give you the detail of that. We'll
notice-
get
Well,
to you in the next few weeks.
The
for
notice
sure.
the notice offers some explanation of the cost. So
Yeah, but we'll provide the detail. We have several
Yeah,
people who
if
want to
it's that
ask
spent
questions, so we need to
already,
move on.
yeah, we want to know. Yeah, right?
Okay, got it,
Which
got
a
it.
certain period,
Yeah,
right?
we'll
Yeah.
provide that.
I'd
We'll
be
provide that
clear.
data.
Yeah. So everybody would know, because I'm pretty sure everybody would understand in this community. It's pretty
Okay.
high educated community.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Nicole. Rusba, you're next.
Yeah, thanks, Dick. I have a follow-on question about the 4 million. I think we do, as a community, need line item cost and expenditures on where that $4 million is going. I don't think Jason's email with a top level explanation is sufficient for us to know where that expenditure is. It just South Tower? Is it, other things?
We'll give you the detail.
We need all
it's
the
forthcoming.
details to understand, because these are extraordinary expenses, and it's just for the South Tower. It's just, and I think that's the general sentiment that we
No,
need
it's
to
not just, most
understand.
of this is for the design of the overall project. But yes, we will provide that.
We need,
detail for
right,
you.
so we need to see 1.258 million for this, 2.24 for that, labor, all the details that you would expect anyone to analyze a budget would need, because I think the stakes are so high, and we can't just, sort of go on with vague sort of, oh, it's 4 million, and then that's it.
No, that's not our
everyone-
intention.
Yeah.
We will give you the details, and it will arrive with, or hopefully before the assessment arrives. We have the detail. We will get it out to everybody. The purpose of this was to tell people what was coming, not to bury people in a lot of detail. We will give you the detail if you want it, and
We want it.
yeah, we'll give it to everybody. No worries. That's very much the
Thank you.
plan.
Yep.
Okay. Louise, did you have something else to say? You have your hand up.
Unmute myself. Just briefly, and I just want to say, Dr. Wang, you are asking a very important question. And it is a question that Paul and I and the rest of the trustees take very seriously, because that's why we are looking for a bank that will do the best by this condominium community to make sure that people have access to what they need. And we don't have that answer yet. You know, and I know, and everyone here knows that the banking industry in the last 6 months has undergone tremendous changes. And so it is the commitment of Paul and I and other people on the Board of Trustees to make sure that we get access to what we will need and to help people who are struggling with not just with understanding and also paying for this assessment. All of the studies that were done identifying the issues with this building are valid. They are done by professionals. They're real. Those costs are real. And I know that we are committed to making sure that there is a breakdown of those costs so that people understand what part was already spent for the evaluation and what part was spent for some repairs that were done during the course. You saw the scaffolding out here on the South Tower. And that was repairs that were done last summer. And so we will put the detail in place, and I understand very much what you're talking about. My main concern is about your concern about the community.
Okay, thank you, Louise. Okay, Takashi, you're next.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to make a request. The overall construction cost. This is what we need to focus on before we talk about the financing. And based upon everything that we have discussed to date, this number, 45 million, has to come down significantly. We need to work on this before we talk about anything, before you request assessment of 4 million. Construction cost has to come down significantly. This community is not capable of being able to afford $45 million plus minus kind of project. And that should be very clear.
How do you suggest that we do that?
I thought we were going to talk about, set the residence committees and, set up this special committee to really sit down and focus on this topic.
Yes,
What leadership is the board taking to
you'll be
make that
getting
happen?
you'll be getting a notice from us in a day or so. We are
Okay.
forming an owners committee
Okay.
to review the.
Once again, the
project.
goal is to reduce the construction costs significantly, not just a couple of $1 million. That should be the priority. Otherwise, we'll continue to have
I hear you. I have to tell you that the members of the board are all owners. We have been struggling for a year to do just that. We are dismayed at how much the project costs, but we have done everything we can think of to reduce the size of the project, to use competitive bids and so on. It is an astoundingly large project. No quarrel. We are absolutely open to specific ideas about how to reduce the cost. We love to find a way to do that. We have professionals. We have a project manager whose job is to browbeat the contractors and figure out whether there's any way to do the work for less money. And they have done that. The fact is, the original numbers came in at 50 million. And we worked very hard to get it down to 45. We had hoped to get it lower, but that was the best that we could do within reason, still doing a good job of fixing the problems in the building. So I get it. We're distressed too. And if you or other owners have ideas about how we can reduce that cost, please tell us. We're open to that. We would like to find ways to reduce the cost.
Starting point
it has to be consistent with doing a quality job of repairing the building. There's no point in spending tens of millions of dollars if we don't solve the problems that we have.
So Dick, may I just squeeze in? So starting point Takeshi is talking about is share everything, every detail. I do agree with Takashi 1000%. So we can see it. So we can point out,
fine.
hey, this is necessary or not
we understand,
necessary.
Nicole.
Yeah,
we
so we
will
can
give
give
you
you
the detail.
idea by looking at it.
Yeah.
People will look at it.
All right. let's see, there was somebody else who had a hand up who hadn't spoken before. Is anybody else who hasn't spoken who would like to speak? We're going to run out of time very soon here.
If there is a no one, I would
Yeah,
like
you
to
go
ask a
ahead.
couple of things. For 54% of the 4 million that you guys just sent, that is according to the description of that, it sounds like it's including the actual cost of the fix has been done. No, or it's
Well,
also
let me answer your
including
question.
wait, let me finish it. It feels like it's a repair cost and estimation cost to the consultant or whatever that is. That kind of thing. I don't know why you guys are always kind of mixing together bunch of items into the one. These two, if it is repaired already or fixed already, then say it's a fixed and done deal. I mean, we have to pay for it. If we got the service, I don't have no complaint about it. But it feels like I don't know if intentionally or it's a lack of clarity. It feels like it's has been done or will be done, is all included in the 54%. That's a $2 million, and 1.5 million. That's a 37% of the permanent repairs to be done before the winter. What is this for? I mean, South Tower.
I told you,
If
we're
we,
going to
yeah.
give you that detail. That's fine. We have the detail and we will
Wait,
give it to you.
okay. I heard exactly the same answer when we first discussed about this window fix. You guys sent this vague list of items into the one bunch, and then there will be something like this kind of thing happen, and then boom, here's a bill, pay. That was what happened last time, and you guys doing the same thing, same way with a $4 million. And now what we should supposed to say that, oh, it's a much smaller amount of money? I don't think so. You guys should send this kind of list of things at least 1 week before this meeting. In what if someone if nobody was asked today, you guys will not supposed to send it or what?
I'm sorry you have so little faith in us. We're working to give you that detail and you will get it. Rob, you haven't spoken. Would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Dick. I just want to make a couple of quick points. One, I mean, as with everyone else, I would agree that, you know, that the cost is astronomical and transparency is paramount. But by the same token, you know, as individual owners, you know, I don't want each individual owner trying to control this process either. I mean, that's why we have a board. And that's why, and that's the whole philosophy of a condominium association, is that, you know, you give up certain autonomy. You know, you can't have each individual owner trying to control this whole process. So we have to some degree put our faith in the board. But I think transparency is the way to go. But by the same token, you know, we can't vote on each line item that you provide us either. At some point, we have to put trust in the board and put the process in the hands of, you know, not everybody, every single owner in this building. Okay, and that's all I've got to say.
Thank you. Roosevelt, you still have your hand up, and then Catherine.
I've gone twice. Catherine, if you want to go first.
Yeah, go ahead, Catherine, then. Thank you.
Yep.
Hi. I actually, you know, Dick, you said a very good point. You said that the board is open to looking at ways to reduce the $45 million cost. And so I hope that the whole board will take seriously the email that David DeSantis just sent out this afternoon. He has some plans for how to do that. And I would hope that the board can seriously take a look at this, because we should be looking at more than just the Lee Kennedy bid, in my opinion. to make sure to follow Takashi's concerns about reducing the cost, because the costs are a problem for many owners at River Court. You know, and I think it's easy to live in our isolated bubbles here in Massachusetts, but a lot of people are going to have problems with the $45 million project as it currently exists. So I hope that in good faith to try to, you know, make this, we're not engaging in a civil war here at River Court, that the board will seriously take a look at David's proposal.
Sure, we're going to form an owners committee. It may not be as David has asked for it. I haven't seen this memo this afternoon, but we have a memo that will come out soon about the formation.
Yes, no, the
We're looking
committee-
for people who want to be on that committee.
Okay, the committee, from my understanding, because I have been one of the folks that have been, interested in the committee, it needs to be an independent committee. And so I know that the owners that are interested in going the committee route are not going to accept a committee that is not independent. So I just want to throw that out there, because that's a key concern about the committee.
Okay, well, let me speak to that. It may not make you happy. The board is not able to delegate its authority to a committee. It's contrary to our condo documents, and it's contrary to Massachusetts law. We can't give a committee the authority to make decisions about the project. That's what we're on the board.
Well, I mean, the committee ultimately isn't supposed to make decisions. That's why we have a board. But the committee, I think, should be independent and should be willing to advise, advising the board.
Right, that's what we're going to do. We're going to create an advisory committee, and we'll provide all of the data access to our project manager and the architects, whatever information they need, and we will listen to their recommendations.
Okay, because
but
I mean,
as you say, it's the board that
I
has to
understand the
act.
committee doesn't have voting power, but the committee needs to be independently selected and have some kind of independence, or else I don't really think owners are going to want to participate in it. It needs to be independent.
It's going to be a lot of work for those people. What we want is to get a representative group of owners, because we've got people here who have children, people who don't have children, people who've moved in the last couple of years, people who've been here for 30 years in the building. And we'd like to make sure that this owner group is representative of the range of people who are part of our community. We've got, residential owners and commercial owners. So that's part of our concern, is that we'd like to make sure that everybody's represented.
Well, if we were able to hold an election for the committee, I think that's the most democratic way to do it.
Unfortunately, we don't have any mechanism for that. There's nothing in the condo docs that allows that for that kind of an election.
Well, I just would advise you to keep an open mind, because I think if you talk to some of the owners here, they could come up with a way to do that in a very quick way.
What we're looking for is concrete suggestions about how to reduce the cost of the project. The administrative mechanism for that is not the point. The point is, if people have some good ideas, they go through the data that we have, the explanation of the problems that we're trying to fix, and have some good ideas for how to resolve those problems for less money. Absolutely, we're all.
Well, I mean,
that's what we want this committee to do, to help us.
Right, I'm just urging you to that we need to consider alternative bids other than Lee Kennedy, and I think that's what David's email, if you read it today, is trying to express.
We did competitive bids, but anyway, let's leave that for discussion with the committee. We're running out of time here. I think I'm trying to see if there's anybody else who hasn't spoken. Thank you very much, Catherine, for that, and we will look at David's message that he sent this afternoon. I haven't seen that yet.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So Roosevelt, you want to come back in now?
Yes, sure, Dick. So I think to Catherine's point and Takashi's point, if we're looking at a $45 million bid, and this is all, what we're dealing with now versus one that David is bringing to light that's $12.4 million, and there's certain.
I'm sorry, we lost you there, Roosevelt. What's the $12 million?
I was just saying that the bid that David has 12.4 million versus 45 million. We as a community should consider both. What are the trade-offs? What are the benefits? Because the $45 million is an astronomical number, as people have said. We should look at things open-minded to see how we can make things workable for a lot of members of the community. And I think that's what everyone that I've been hearing is
Well,
saying.
if he can demonstrate that we can do the work for $12.4 million and solve the problems, great. But he's going to have to present that case. You know, we have an elaborate study of the problems of the building, and those problems need to be addressed. That's the purpose of the project. So frankly, it doesn't seem credible to me that they could be done for $12 million, but we'll listen. Okay.
Yep. And you know, there's definitely trade-offs and things. And as others have said, what's nice to have, what's critical, and what's, you know, something that could be done. That's really the open-mindedness that I think we need as a community, given the price tag we have now and lack of transparency around it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, well, we are nearly out of time. We probably have time for one more question. Anybody who hasn't spoken and would like to speak? We have a number of people who haven't spoken as yet. Okay, so Nicole, you have your hand up. I think you're going to be the last then, because we have to close this out. Go ahead, Nicole. No? Okay. Are there any other comments? All right, thank you so much. Yeah.
One question. What was the reason given why the bank refused to finance our project? And to what extent do you think their reasoning is going to be followed by other potential financing?
Okay, well, let me summarize that for you. That this, I think that, I mean, I don't know. I have no inside knowledge of what's going on at Avidia Bank, but they seem to have been spooked by the failure of other middle-sized banks, and they put up a number of conditions on the loan that we were talking about that they had to know were not acceptable to us. For example, they wanted to know the exact number of people who would do the 20-year thing, and between the time that they would make a commitment letter, which we didn't have at that point, and the time that they would close the loan, they reserved the right to withdraw the loan. Well, that's unworkable. You can't make a contract with a builder and then have your loan withdrawn. They also said they wouldn't actually give us any money for a year, even if they closed the loan. This was just crazy. And so as a result, we had to walk away from it, but I'm sure that was their intent. They told us those things, and they had to know that meant that we wouldn't take the loan under those conditions. So as I say, I just think they were spooked by the recent bank failures. It was not good timing. But bearing that in mind, we have the committee. You've heard from Louise and Paul. They both have a lot of experience with banking and finance, and I'm confident that they'll be able to express to in shopping for lenders. They will be able to express what our needs are well, so we won't get led down the garden path. That the vendors that we qualify will be able to offer an appropriate loan.
Yeah, but the other, Dick, the other point is that they wanted to see a track record of the payments from the owners on the 20-year on the 20-year option. So they weren't willing to take the risk of, because they, again, the association, the condo association, we are taking the risk for all the different, so to speak, mortgages on this 20-year option. So the bank wanted, that's what Dick was referring to, the bank wanted to see a whole year of payment history, that before they would actually approve the loan in its entirety. And then, there's no way we're going to do that. So that's what really was the hard part. The other problem we just talked we made a mistake in the sense because we didn't understand it at that time, because we were trying to put this together quickly. They weren't prepared for the 20-year option when we brought it to them. So it was a new part of the loan. We were going for a construction loan, which is a pretty traditional type of lending for this kind of project. And when we went in to try to help our fellow owners by getting a better option for them to try to make the impact of the cost lower, they started to, they first they said, sure, well, we'll look at it. But as we got into it, they started to distance themselves from us pretty quickly. And so the terms made it unacceptable for us to take that risk as a condo association with that kind of bank loan. That's really what happened.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, folks. Thank you for joining us. We've recorded this session. If you know people who weren't able to come, tell them that will be posted in a couple days on the website. So thank you for being here and have a good evening.